Okay, so it's time to do a personal project of mine. This is Ozymandias from the Watchmen collection by Night Models. This is a one-piece model. Going to change out the original base and use a stamped steel plate base. Going to clip the little tab off. I love that this is a one-piece miniature. I love Night Model sculpting. I absolutely hate their casting. So one piece with very little cleanup is right up my alley. And I've been wanting to paint this miniature for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and pin him to my stamped base here. The base stamp is from Happy Seppuku. And really just paint this one for fun. Had some really good discussion about Ozymandias as a character. He is my favorite Watchman. And yeah, you know, there's a lot of really interesting moral discussions around the miniature, the character, and I think he's really cool. So we're just going to give him a little prime there. I skipped the gray and went straight to the white. Had some problems during recording here. So you can see I'm spraying white over the black and the gray, just to give it a little bit of that pre-shading / zenithal stuff I typically do. Gonna zoom in a little closer here and work on the eyes. Again, I typically paint the eyes in all black, and then I'll paint the white in a minute here. But I wanted to zoom in and go a little bit slower here, just to show you, you know, the little bit of extra detail I had to spend here on the eyes. This model has a very, very expressive face. So I wanted to capture that correctly. He's actually had one of the most interesting expressions as far as the Watchmen miniatures go. And so when you're doing your eyes, you want to paint the whole thing black, and then when you're painting the white in, you're really going for length more than height, if that makes sense. You want the wide, you want the to kind of paint horizontally across the face of the miniature, because you are going to come back in and dot the center of the eyes. I actually paint in a little bit of a slash here instead of a dot. And with eyes, you want to do this several times to make sure that it's correct. The other thing is overpaint the black, because we're going to actually shape the eyes with our skin once we get to painting skin. So, as you can see, I'm spending a little bit extra attention getting the eyes on this model right. These eyes are difficult because Night Models does them almost to scale. So, I'm having to spend a little bit of extra time on that. Let's go ahead and start to shape the eyes. This is Vallejo Model Color Heavy Skin Tone, one of my all-time favorite undertones for skin, and also serves dual purpose here to shape eyes after I've painted them in and I'm reasonably happy with the job I did with the eyes. And you want to bring this in as close as totally possible. Now, if I did make a mistake here in the eyes, it's probably that I went in with black gray to paint in the entirety of the eyes as opposed to a dark brown. Black gray is great for, you know, if you're doing a more, I guess, a more sinister looking model, or you know, maybe a female model that has eyeliner. For Ozymandias here, I probably should have went in with a chocolate brown, but it's fine. You know, we make it work, and you know, a lot of people do think he's the bad guy, so we'll go ahead and stay with the darker eye tone there. And we're just going to improve it as we continue to paint in the skin. So from heavy skin tone, we're going to move that up into tanned highlight. So I switched from Vallejo to Reaper here. I play around a lot with my skin tone palettes. And right now this is one of my favorites for Caucasian male skin, is to go heavy skin tone and then tanned highlight, and then finally come in with youthful flesh as the topmost highlight. So I'm using kind of like a Reaper triad system. I'm not really blending as much in between colors as much as I did when it was just a straight Vallejo system I used to run, and I think it works out just fine. You can see the skin there turned out pretty well. So what we're going to do with the rest of this model, and this is kind of what I do with models with, we'll call it this level of detail that Night Models typically has. You know, strong muscle tones, often like really intricate details with armor, especially if you're talking like futuristic style armor. I use a technique here that I call toning down, in other words, instead of your standard highlighting up. So with the main body there, I'm going to do a dark military green, and I'm going to color block this model before I really get into doing the highlighting and then what I call the toning down. This is a light brown color, again from Vallejo Model Color, that I'm using to paint in the circlet, which isn't quite a circlet on Ozymandias. It doesn't connect all the way around. It just sort of breaks off there in the middle. But it is kind of a non-metallic gold. In the movie, you can see that he has these portions of his costume are gold, but they're weird. They're not like a full metallic gold. They're slightly off, and I don't like to paint with metallics anyway. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a non-metallic gold, and we're going to use the same technique of toning down that I'm talking about here. Now with the non-metallic metals, you do the same thing. You just highlight to a more severe degree, and you want to control your lighting a little bit better. And I'll show you how you do that with both the highlight step and then the toning step. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to block off this model. I'm just really surprised by how much I really enjoyed painting this. I mean, it's a really static pose, but again, so much character in the piece. And again, Ozymandias, by far my favorite of the Watchmen characters. Gonna paint in the hair yellow ochre as the undertone. We'll come back in and highlight that as well. And now we're starting to paint in Vallejo Model Color purple. I did have some regrets with this purple. I just didn't feel like it was rich enough. This is more of a standard purple, and I'm thinking maybe I really should have went with more of a burgundy or even a maroon color, because his cloak in the movie is a lot richer. Should also point out too, though, that his armor is a lot more gray in the motion picture, and it just kind of has a green tinge to it. But I decided to go more of a green, closer to the Night Models studio art there. Okay, so now we're going to start to highlight these areas that we've color blocked. This is, if I can remember correctly, this is Vallejo Model Color Reflective Green on top of that deep military green. And I'm just going to paint it in as if it were the base coat, most of the tops of the muscle tones. And I'm going to get in a good maybe 75% of the top surface area. So again, we're treating this like it's just a standard highlight for now. And then I'm going to come in and do a second highlight, but this time I drew it up even higher. So now this is actually a Vallejo Model Air color that I don't even know the English name of. It's called Helleblau or Hellblau in German. Pardon my German, I don't understand what I'm saying here, but I suppose you could use any sort of really light blue gray to do the same thing, doing the very tops of the muscles there. And I'm going to leave that green for now. We're going to move over to the non-metallic gold, where I've switched from light brown to yellow ochre here. And again, we're going to do about, probably around 60% of the visible part of this model. And with this non-metallic part, I'm really going to want to pay attention to where I am putting the lighting on the model. So I'm really kind of concentrating the highlight towards the centers of pieces, the raised parts of the pieces. Highlighting the hair there with golden yellow. And I'm going to take that same golden yellow and towards the center portions of the yellow ochre color and the raised portions you can see there on the the top parts of the armor there. You can see me coming in and giving it that really drastic highlight. I mean, it doesn't look very good right now. It looks washed out. The color looks washed out. It looks way too light. But again, we're going to trust in the process, and we're going to double down on that process. So I'm going to take off-white, and now I'm just drawing into the very, very center of where that golden yellow highlight came in. So again, with non-metallics, and you're doing this tone down technique, you actually force the highlights all the way up to white in the case of silver. In the case of other non-metallics, you're going to get somewhat close to that white, if not off-white, in the case of gold or brass or copper here. So now I'm starting my tone down technique on the skin. Okay, this is an interesting mix. It's 2 parts Vallejo model color black green ink, another 2 parts of black ink, and then 4 parts of glaze medium. And then you just paint it into the crevices, and you can push it down into the crevices as far as you like, and then remove any of the excess with a damp brush. So I'm doing that same thing here on the non-metallic gold. This is a mix of Vallejo sepia ink with black, and then mixed in with glaze medium. The glaze medium is very important for 2 reasons. One, it keeps the ink open for a long time so that you can add and remove as you like, and 2, it imparts a little bit of sheen, and that's going to help here with this non-metallic. So you can see, you treat it similar to how you might treat a wash. The only difference is you have a significant amount of more control, and the fact that it's an ink will give you a really, really rich contrast. So now I'm highlighting with blue-violet over the purple there, and then I'm going to go ahead and wash it with an ink glaze the same way. This is a mix of violet and black, and you can see it getting into the crevices there. You can see it's starting to pool. Now I can just come in with a damp brush and remove most, if not all of that, if I so chose. That's a huge advantage over a standard wash, which is essentially going to stain that area once that is left on there. Almost done here, just going to paint in the black. Did a similar technique on the metal plate, but that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank everybody for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.